recording. Hello, and welcome to Fire Emblem 15 ETC playthrough. I'm US's Gordon Captain, here with...
Typhoon Carter.
And you're watching Duma Tower, The Ascent. So this is the final sort of set of maps in Celica's route. It's also kind of a very easy section.
This map, we got Bowie, we got Valbar, and we also got S here to do some movement shenanigans here.
Yes. May starts out equipped with the Mage Ring. This will let her kill a really, really annoying fiend at the very start of the map. And then May also can equip a Braceword layer. So here, Conrad got a crit. That crit wasn't necessary because Paula could have finished the guy off, but it's kind of easier to just have Conrad crit. Now we get to do a cute trick that only Celica can do. So, first thing Celica does is trade her Braceword that she has equipped. Then Celica switches equipment to a Draco Shield that she had in the Convoy. This will let Celica effectively give May a Brave Sword and then take the Mage Ring out of her inventory and put a Draco Shield in her inventory instead, in Celica's inventory instead, for AI manipulation.
Yeah, so essentially we want the enemies to kind of target some of our stronger units instead with this. And one of these units includes Leon, who's going to help us take care of these enemies, and unfortunately, May here died, but we have turn wheels, so, no big problem, no big deal.
Yes, May needs to crit every single Dreadfighter to not die, essentially, and if she crits the Dreadfighters, they won't get the second round of combat on her, so she'll not die.
Yeah, for the uninformed, the Brave Sword is essentially a killing edge, so just so that people don't get confused. Very easy misconception to make sometimes.
Yeah. Dean is also equipped with a Brave Sword on the right, doing the same thing he's been doing all game, which is critting random enemy Dreadfighters. Dean is sort of going to be a workhorse in this tower. He's going to be killing a bunch of random enemies slowly over the course of the tower. He's not going to be the best unit on any map, but he's going to be viable on every map, which is something you can't say about any other unit other than Leon.
Yeah, so, we took care of the first section of Duma Tower, and we're going to have to do a little bit of backtracking and avoiding enemies. This is mostly so that we can refresh our turn wheels.
Yes. If you give alcohol to a Milla Shrine, it refreshes your turn wheel. This is almost never useful because going from map to map also refreshes your turn wheel. But in specifically dungeons, along with fatigue, there is this mechanic which requires you to refresh your turn wheels every so often.
Yeah. Now that we've done that, we also will be going to some wells to get some stat boosters for some of our units.
Yes, specifically Leon wants a speed. Leon could actually have used 2 speed, but I gave 1 speed to the wrong unit, aka not Leon.
Brutal. Basically, at this point, we got a lot of dead air time, and we're just trying to run through this dungeon and hopefully avoid any enemies that we can avoid.
Yes. Here we're going to pick up a cog on the right side that will give us an extra turn wheel. We already have way too many turn wheels, but this gives us even more way too many.
But, it never hurts to have too many turn wheels, especially with how spotty some of the strategies that we may have to rely on sometimes is.
So, running her back to reset the gargoyle patterns. So, there are multiple different gargoyle patterns, and some of them are just complete nightmares to deal with. So, you just keep resetting to hope to find a good gargoyle pattern. Since running backwards doesn't cost any turns, you can just, do that indefinitely, as long as you want.
Yeah, a little tedious, but it most certainly works.
Here, there's a specific gargoyle that I was trying to find out where they were. If that's the gargoyle, few didn't jump scared.
We got some skill wells, and we got to fight some necro dragons here. And this part of Duma Tower, this one is mostly going to be Leon putting in work for us.
Yes. Leon has a killer bow, which has crit, and that's the most powerful weapon in the game. Dean has a brave sword, so he can crit various enemies with that. In this case, he's going to be critting 2 gargoyles who are on the right-hand side of the map. Something that Leon wouldn't be able to reach.
Classic Fire Emblem juggernauting here, as we're going to be trying to one-turn this map.
Yes. We'll be one-turning this map in the same way basically every map in this game is one-turned, by critting a bunch of times and hoping to get lucky.
Yeah, although thankfully the crit rates here that we have going are fairly reasonable for the most part, and usually we don't have to rely on double crits or anything like that.
Yes, but we do have to rely on a lot of single crits with weapons with about 30 or 40 crit, along with like 20 or so skill and some amount. So you're looking at chances of success around 65-75%.
Wow. But yeah,
and so sometimes you're just gonna have a lot of enemies, but since we have turn wheels, 75% of the time events with a 75% chance of happening happen, and if you just turn wheel enough times, you're probably going to get all of them to line up properly.
Yeah, and thankfully we can manipulate enemy phases to some degree for the most part. And the other neat thing was that was why we gave the skill stat boosters to Leon, so that we can improve his crit rates.
Yes, he has a decent crit rate, and you just hope to get lucky. There's not really much else other than luck.
Yeah, reliability is our passion.
Yeah, that was Duma Tower cleared in one turn, and now it's time for everyone's favorite part, stealthing.
Yes, and trying to avoid the gargoyles. And thankfully, that's why we were resetting to check the gargoyle patterns to at least be manageable enough for us to deal with.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this gargoyle has been a complete jerk, so I think I just have to run back, around. And then you don't want to get jump scared. This is a gargoyle who could sometimes appear moving forward. And thankfully we didn't get jump scared by that guy.
Man, jump scares. This is the new Fire Emblem philosophy. Hopefully they don't include this in the next FE they make. Keyword hopefully.
I don't know. Fire Emblem games in general have had more and more off-map stuff. I mean, Fates had My Castle. This game has dungeons and forging, and
Free Houses has the monastery.
Yeah. Like, the maps, off-map stuff has become more and more a part of Fire Emblem as time has gone on.
Just expanding the importance of preparations in the series. Yeah. And shoutouts to Berwick Saga and their town hub, which was almost like kind of a precursor to the monastery and even My Castle to an extent.
So now it's time to prep for the extremely challenging next map. Leon is going to need to fight a ton of enemies, just like he did in the previous map, except this time he's going to need a lot more bulk boosters.
Yeah, the enemies, they're definitely hitting harder, that's for sure.
Yeah. Leon also, unfortunately, missed a strength benchmark, so he needs to drink a Soma. I was originally trying to save that Soma for Silk, but Leon's strength benchmark is more important. Silk can probably get lucky and gain a strength proc, but if Leon doesn't, but Leon can't actually get lucky anymore, he really does need the strength, so...
Unfortunate, but that's the beauty of ETC. Just gotta find ways to make up for it. Anyways, more stealthing and avoiding enemies, just like good old Metal Gear Solid.
Yes. So then this map is there are two dread fighters who are actually really annoying to avoid, but you can just sometimes just blitz past them and you just run through them, you're fine.
Yeah. And these enemies, we're basically fighting ghosts, essentially, in a way. But not quite, but close enough. And Dean's going to be also doing work here.
Yes. Dean is going to be doing a work killing some bone walkers. Paula is going to kill a necro dragon. I was supposed to give Paula the Blessed Lance, but I forgot and gave her the Silver Lance instead. It will be okay, but the Silver Lance has less crit.
Yeah. It's manageable, essentially, and Leon presumably has to do a fair bit of critting. Unfortunately, Leon missed a crit there, so we're gonna have to turn wheel, and he died too, so that didn't help either.
Yes. Leon's chance of death is pretty high. His main way of avoiding death is by standing on pillars. And the other way he has of avoiding death is the amount of bulk boosters we gave him. It's not actually enough to prevent every enemy from killing him, but it's enough to prevent some decent amount.
Gives us a little bit more room for leverage, per se. Anyways, yeah, Leon was able to do what he needed to do there, and so does Dean. Paula has to get some crits here.
Yeah, Paula's, as you can tell, needed 2 crits on 2 Necro Dragons. If you had given Paula the Blessed Lance has plus 15 crit, which has a significantly higher chance of letting Paula get crits.
Yeah, but we're able to take care of things in one turn, as per just like the last map. And once again, a little more backtracking and avoiding enemies, including gargoyles and now ghosts.
Yes. We needed to run back this time again to refresh the turn wheel. The turn wheel is an extremely valuable resource, as you can tell in these maps, because the turn wheel allows us to break crits, and also allows us to do ridiculously dangerous things on the knowledge that, if we fail, we just turn wheel.
Yeah. Basically, turn wheel is almost, in a way, trivializes the concepts of ETC.
Yes.
In a way. And mainly the dungeon here, honestly, if someone was not very well informed of the series, would think this was a horror game.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the jump scares that this game likes to give players sometimes.
So,
especially when you throw ghosts in the element, but yes, go on.
So one thing to note is I skipped over a little bit of stealth in this upcoming section. I did not show myself stealthing to get Celica and attack well. That would be necessary so that she can one round a fiend in an upcoming map, but it was like 15 minutes long of stealth and no one wants to watch that.
Oh no, it would be funny just for pure entertainment value. But realistically, yeah, no. Anyway, so yeah, we basically gotta climb this tower and climb up to the next floor, essentially.
The next floor has a variety of enemies we have to prepare for, because one thing to note is that unit formation in this game decides your unit order, or decides unit formation. And so I, in this case, was looking up a formation guide to see what slots would be in what squares, so that I could set up my army the way I needed it to.
Yeah, this is actually very akin to some old Fire Emblem games where they've had chapters set up similarly in that way, where you have to manipulate your units' deployment orders. Kind of notable examples of this includes Path of Radiance is Chapter 17, which is a 4-part map, and you have to kind of do it from the very first part of the map to determine your unit order for the rest of Chapter 17. FE8 Endgame and FE7 Endgame also do this to some capacity as well.
Yes, and Gaiden the entire game also does.
Classic. Of course, classic. And this last map that we're preparing for, we're going to be getting a lot more units involved in combat, including units like Katria, who hasn't really been seeing much combat for most of Duma Tower so far.
Yeah, they have sort of very niche uses, but these niches will come up. The thing is that I forged a huge number of weapons by buying Duma Tower gold and raiding the breaking pots. So since Celica is so rich, it's pretty easy for her to get like any weapon forged.
Wow.
That's why Conrad, for example, has a 5-star silver lance lying around now.
And he's actually able to do things with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, once again, just some last minute preparations that we have to do before we engage this last enemy of Duma Tower on Celica's side.
Okay, very first thing to do is have Celica kill a fiend. That's just the obvious thing that needs to get done. Celica's gonna have decent combat against the fiends, but an important thing to note is May needs to be shoved one square so that she can trade the mage ring with Celica so that May can kill a fiend and using the mage ring.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, yeah, Est also doing what Est has been doing for a fair bit. Just a little bit of trading, just utility stuff for the most part.
Yes. Here, Katria is going to be killing some witches, and the way she does that is going to be using the Saunion, which is a weapon that Est had been equipped with.
Anyways, yeah, so Dean kills one of the witches, and because again, we want to reduce the amount of witches that we want to deal with because their AI is one of the many great mysteries that are unsolved, per se.
Yes. So the next thing to do is to look at the bottom right side of the map and put Conrad and Paula there side by side. This way, neither one of them can get multi-targeted by multiple enemies, and they'll do straight line tactics.
Yeah, and they're basically forming a two-tile choke point in a way.
Yes. They. Oh,
the other issue that we have to look out for on this enemy phase is the moguls. We want to basically try and rig them to prevent them from dividing more and more, because one mogul on its own is already annoying enough, and we don't want to deal with more enemies than we need to.
Yeah, the best way to deal with the moguls is going to be to crit them with a few player units, and specifically Dean and Leon are the best killers of moguls. Dean because he has Braceword and doubles them, and Leon because he can just Hunter Soul to double them.
Yeah.
Now, continuing on with the trend of unreliable enemy phases, we have to dodge a Shadow Sword with the Paula, and have to dodge a Bonewalker. So, there's Paula dodging the Bonewalker, your Shadow Sword, and from here, now the Gargoyles will target Conrad and Paula. Now, they actually form an exact amount of damage, such that Conrad does 16 and Paula does 29, so the two of them combined exactly two-shot a single enemy gargoyle. Pretty nice how that turned out.
Yeah. Now the last part is, as I alluded to earlier, it's just trying to prevent the moguls from spawning any more than we need to. Because if we have any more spawn, then we don't quite have the manpower to really clear it within the amount of turns that we want to clear it in.
Yes. So, one nice thing is we're going to do a trade with Est. In theory, what I should have done is I should have had Katria hold the Saunion on turn 1 anyway. And then what I could have done with Est is giving Est a javelin, which I had, and so S could have poked the Dreadfighter with the weapon. Oh well. So now Conrad and Paula are going to show off their exact math strength very well. And the Gold Knight is actually supposed to be a pretty tough enemy. But like most difficult enemies in Celica's route, the best way to handle it is with a combination of units.
And we have Leon basically take a pot shot from like free range on this mogul to get rid of them, as they're fairly problematic, and he's the only one who could have realistically reached.
Yes. So, in the whole game, I had this Lady Blade that I never used, so I'm just gonna poke this stupid Gold Knight with it, doing enough damage to set up a kill for Dean. And that is Duma Tower 4, cleared in 2 turns, for a total of 5 turns spent in Duma Tower. I'll see you guys next time for the first map of for the rest of Alms Act 4.
Bye-bye.